Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Riverfront. This is episode number 466 of the world's most dangerous podcast, where we discuss the Cincinnati Reds and occasionally Burke Badenhop. I'm your host, Chad Dotson. With me this week, once again, my guy, Nate. How are you, Nate?
Chad, I am fantastic. It was a beautiful day today. It's mid-70s, sun was shining, a little windy, but, I'm all smiles over here. But Mama always doted on the frowner.
Oh, wow. Yeah, glorious day to be stuck inside working all day. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, but you know what? It's the weather a little bit good outside reminds you that it's spring. Maybe there was something to discuss. Nate, do you realize that we just spent an entire winter, the whole off season, talking about the Reds every single week with nothing going on? I mean, that's really, we need to sort of pat ourselves on the back. The UVA handshake, they call it, patting yourself on the back. We just talked about the Reds for months with literally nothing going on. And now we have stuff to talk about. Are you as excited as I am?
We might need to check ourselves into rehab. There's something wrong with us. I am excited, though. I'm not going to lie to you. Today, I've been getting a little bit amped up. I think if you went back and watched the last few episodes, I get progressively more and more excited for this season. But today was a big day. Just quotes from the guys at camp, the sound of, pitchers hitting the catcher's mitt. It was just, I'm hyped now. I'm officially hyped.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. A lot of the coverage you see is the same old stories that get recycled every year, but I don't care. The Reds are, are what they are this year, but there are some things we're going to talk about with this young core that, again, sort of paint by numbers some of these articles, but I'm really excited about some of the things that the guys are saying. As ridiculous as that is, that at this age, I can still get so excited over stuff like this, but I am. It just is what it is, and that's why we do this show, because, stuff like this excites us. Before we go any further, let me just say, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button and smash the subscribe button. And if you're listening to the audio version, which most of you do, thank you. Please subscribe or follow wherever in whatever app you're in, and give us a rating if you want, but 5 stars only. If you like us, talk about us. If you don't like us, just shut up. Those of you that are on audio, I need to say this quickly before we begin. Evidently last week, I had a little bit of a coughing fit in the middle of the show, and I thought I was muted. And I saw Nate's face. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see his face. He was like, "What's going on here?" Evidently, the mute button on my mic, I didn't hit it right or something. And so I apologize for the coughing fit last week. We've taken steps to ensure that doesn't happen again. I have a bunch of Hall's Mentholyptus drops here next to me just in case. I've got some, we'll say, water here, and I'm okay this week. So sorry for that. Forgive me.
You really only need to apologize to the first-time listeners, because anybody that's listened to this podcast with any regularity knows how far from perfect we are.
That's right. Authenticity is the way you put it to me off the air. It's our level brand of authenticity. So before we get to the real news here, I am going to say this is something else we're going to do again this week. I have a pack of 1991 Fleer baseball cards. Got some good feedback on the baseball cards last week, Nate. Did you see that?
You did indeed. I felt left out. And here I am still without a pack.
I know.
I never learn.
I'm going to order some. So I'm going to go ahead and, before we get into this, I'm going to open up and let's look at the first card. 1991 Fleer. I don't even remember what these cards looked like. So, by the way, it says on here, collect Fleer Provisions Sports Art. Okay, I think I will. All right. Oh, this is a hideous design. I forgot about these. This is awful. The first one, Houston Astros, Eric Yelding. You remember Eric Yelding, Nate?
No. Nobody remembers Eric Yelding.
No, Mrs. Yelding does, I'm sure. So, and Mr. Yelding, his father actually was the principal at sorry, I don't know. Yeah.
Bayside High. I love it.
Bayside. Yeah. Hit us up in the comments if you know what we're talking about there. All right. So obviously the topic of the week this week, what we're here to discuss, pitchers and catchers reported. Nate, yes. Pitchers and catchers reported to camp. Now, set the schedule for us the rest of the spring. The pitchers and catchers are here, and as we'll hear, some position players are here. But what do we have to look forward to? What are our dates, our mark?
Yeah, so the first full squad workout is February 20th But as you sort of alluded to, they are not that far from a full squad right now. I'm sure there are still some international guys that need visas and whatnot, but there are a lot of players in Arizona as we record this. The first game is the 25th of this month versus the neighborly Cleveland Guardians. And then the last of those spring training games is March 26th. So we are about to gear up from, today is the 16th. We are just a week away, a little over a week away from a month of Reds baseball games.
Yeah, no, bring it on. I'm excited. And, I think over the last few weeks, something sort of settled over me. I have this sort of personal philosophy of if I can't change it, I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm not going to let it affect my mood. I'm going to let it affect my stress level. If I can't change it, I can't change it. And it just is what it is. And that has actually held me in good stead over the last few years. I think something has sort of descended on me where I'm like, yeah, I know they're going to be bad. I don't care, whatever. I know that I'm also going to watch them. So what are the things that excite me? And that brings us to the first thing I want to talk about, because one of the things that obviously we're going to be talking about all year that excites us all are these kids, are the young players. What are they going to do? And Nate, I know you saw it because you pointed out to me, Charlie Goldsmith had a piece in the Cincinnati Enquirer about Jonathan India. And why don't you go ahead and kind of break that down for us?
Yeah, he actually had one a couple days ago. Sort of, I guess Tyler Stephenson was the focus, but he was hitting on all of the young guys, not hitting on in a romantic way, just, interviewing and kind of talking about this culture shift that needs to happen within the organization. And I don't know who prompted it. I don't know, if there's been some behind the scenes rallying of the troops, but these young guys are apparently just full steam ahead with trying to, change up the culture of this team. He came out with a piece today that was all about Jonathan India and how he's going to take the leadership role and how the rest of the guys are following his lead. It seems like that these dudes have been, they've been talking, they've been hanging on the offseason. India was responsible for getting a bunch of guys down early, getting all these position players down early. Hunter Green was getting organized dinner parties and really just trying to lead a movement to get the pitching staff to work together instead of competing against each other. And one thing that I really noticed was that a lot of people have talked about, and Votto mentioned it a couple times this offseason, the last year was just kind of a downer. These guys that were there getting shipped out, the locker room in flux, all the turnover. And they said it just wasn't very fun. And it looks like they were making a concerted effort to change that this year. And I am here for it.
Right, absolutely. And this is sort of, again, I use the term paint by numbers. Every spring you get these same types of articles written, and that's fine. They have to fill column inches. And so whatever. But this the two pieces, the twin pieces, one was about Stevenson and India, and the young core, and the other one focusing a lot more on Jonathan India. But I like I say, I'm here for it. Bring it on, because I was going to say, because again, we're looking for things to be excited about. And so Jonathan India is like, all right, we're going to make a point to be this gritty, scrappy team that plays hard and show. I'm encouraging everybody to show their emotion on the field. And, it's just more fun to watch. I'm absolutely 100% subscribed to this theory. And I don't know. If you haven't seen it, it's in the Enquirer, so you can go to Cincinnati.com and get that. But I'd encourage you to go to read those, because it will at least get you a little more excited about this Reds team. And that's sort of what we're searching for.
It absolutely did that for me. There was like this dark cloud hanging over the season from day one, from the offseason trades, Phil's comments early on, Tommy Pham. Nobody cared about that guy. Mike Moustakas just running around with a frown the whole time. This season's different. They're buddies. They're getting along. Just a couple quotes. I want to throw out a couple quotes from the pieces. Tyler Stephenson said, "Culture is priority number one." Jonathan India said, "I want to set a culture this year that's different from the past." Graham Ashcraft said, "All the noise is adding fuel to the fire, and we're in for a real fun season." Hunter Green, it's all about creating a culture and getting everyone together. Nick Lodolo, we talk about long-term culture, something we think can happen sooner than most do. I mean, these are professional athletes. They're not used to being thrown under the bus. And I think I love the fight that's coming from them. Stevenson saying, that the De La Cruzes are coming up, the Martes are coming up, the Matt McClains, like they have bought in, it seems like, to this. We are the young guys. We are the future. We're the next generation. Nobody's going to tell us how to lead.
First of all, yeah, Yeah, Stevenson did say the De La Cruzes are coming. Is there more than one Ellie De La Cruz? Because give me 2 or 3 of those guys. That'd be fantastic. No, again, some of the I don't want to get too. I don't want to overemphasize this because these are professional athletes, and all the stories that you see about great culture in the clubhouse, those are always told about winning teams. You know, in retrospect, and so maybe this is something that's going to lead to more. But I was exactly in the right point in my fanhood that I needed to read this, and I love the idea of these young guys saying, "Okay, this is us now. We have to step up, and we're the new generation." Jonathan, you mentioned it earlier, but he texted all the position players asking them to report early. India showed up on February the 1st. Didn't have to be there till the 20th, and by today, we record this on Thursday. Obviously, 13 of the 16 position players on the 40-man roster were in camp. Okay, now that's whatever. I mean, you know, let's not read too much into it. But if you're looking for reasons to be a little bit excited about this young core, like you said about Hunter Green, the dinner party is the one thing. But he said, I want everybody coming to each other's bullpen sessions and watching and really being engaged. And I feel like we are overselling what these quotes are, but they're fun. It's something that increases my optimism to watch these guys. Because, yeah, maybe they're going to be bad, but I will take a bunch of guys that are growing and learning and becoming something as a group over a bunch of the Moustakas and Tommy Phams. I mean, it's just, to me, it's way more interesting. So the Reds may lose 100 games this year. I don't know. I don't think they will, but I think they're going to be infinitely more interesting. And at this point, we're Cincinnati Reds fans. I'll take interesting.
Yeah, and you said it. If these comments had come out in November of 2022, I would have shrugged them off and said, yeah, whatever. But they came out at the perfect time. 2 days after pitchers and catchers report.
We're ready
to
get
fired up. Now, the question is, if you want to be, a glass half empty kind of guy, did they report early because they wanted to get some extra preparation in? Or did they all just want to get hammered together at the Waste Management Open?
Now that's a golf event that I desperately want to attend one of these days. If you don't know about the Waste Management Open, go Google the fans at that. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, it is what it is. Next baseball card, by the way, Nate, Calvin Schiraldi. Calvin Schiraldi, pitcher for the Padres here. Do you know anything about Calvin Schiraldi? You
went to Kinko's and just photoshopped random people onto cards and made up names.
Calvin Schiraldi, I'm looking at the back to make sure I'm not wrong here. Yes, Calvin Schiraldi pitched in Game 6 of the 1986, the infamous Red Sox. He pitched for the Red Sox Mets game. That was the Bill Buckner game, and I don't know if he was the pitcher at the time, but he definitely pitched in that game. So Calvin,
interesting, good pull,
Schiraldi. So, 2 packs now. We haven't got a single Cincinnati Red yet. How many weeks is it going to take before we get a Cincinnati Red? We're going
to find out.
I only have 3 more packs, so I'm going to have to go figure that out. So anyway, yeah, we're overselling it probably, but I don't care. I'm all for it. Let those young guys set the tone. Nate, now listen, do you know who David Bell is?
Some days I wish I didn't. Some days
David Bell,
perfectly fine with it. That's where I usually land, but
yeah, he's the vanilla of Major League Baseball managers, which I shouldn't say that because I love vanilla, but so he's well, I don't know what he is, but anyway, I just once again I've gotten off the rails. He had some comments this week, Nate. I presume you saw those, and I want to ask you about some of those comments. The first is his the plan for the aforementioned Tyler Stephenson. And we talked in previous weeks about the plan for him to play different places. We've actually been yelling about that for the last couple of years. Let him play all over the diamond. Well, not all over the diamond, but play first base and DH as well. Well, he said they have a specific plan, like every single game planned out, for Tyler Stephenson to catch about 65 games. That's 4 out of every 10 games, and then 3 games at DH and 2 at first base. So, number one, I love it. Get him he's in the lineup 9 games out of 10. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Only 4 games, 4 out of the 10 days catching, about 65 games behind the plate. Any thoughts? I have some thoughts, but I'll tee it up for you first.
Yeah, a few brief ones. One, first of all, I'm just glad that they have a plan. This is one of the first actual plans I've heard from this Reds organization in a long time. So I like that part.
Good point.
I obviously, for Tyler's sake, would like to see him catching more games eventually. He will get paid more money if he can catch more games and stay healthy and hit the baseball. I was listening to the interview, and I kind of got a hint that he was alluding to the fact that this is a 1-year plan. Like, this is not what they see for his career going forward. They want to get him a full season, healthy, and finishing on a high note, and then they'll jack up that count later. That's what I'm hoping happens, because it's just not quite enough behind the plate for me. Because if he's not catching, then you have somebody else in the lineup that is going to hit about 230, and that's not great.
Well, that's one part of it, and I hope the way you're reading those tea leaves is correct, because the other part of that is, yes, the Reds will have somebody bad at catcher, but Tyler Stephenson, his bat as a catcher, he's one of the top 3 catchers in baseball. His bat as a DH or a first baseman is average. I mean, maybe slightly above average, but it's not. I mean, first basemen who can hit are a dime a dozen. That's where they put people that can't play in the field. So not only does it hurt his value in terms of his ability to earn on his first big contract, but I think he's much, much, much less valuable to the Reds anywhere other than catcher. He's still valuable. He's still, he's going to be fine. If he's your DH, we're fine. The guy can hit, but he's not an elite DH bat, whereas he's an elite catcher bat. And so he just in terms of maximizing his value to the team, not just his value, the value to his wallet. I think it's I don't love it. I don't love the idea. I love the idea that they're going to play him elsewhere more just because it keeps his bat in the lineup. And for some reason they wouldn't do that last year when he was healthy. But if it is just sort of a thing, let's get him a season under his belt, and
they're gonna stink this year. So why run the risk of having him back there, get the wear and tear on his body on a throwaway season anyway?
Yeah, no, I mean I think that's reasonable. The flip side of that is, well, being a catcher in the big leagues is really hard. It's really hard to be a good catcher, and getting those reps will help him. I don't know what the equation is, how many days he should be catching. I can't say I know more than the Reds know about that sort of thing, but all things being equal, I prefer to have him behind the plate. But the other side of that is I prefer him to be healthy. So it's a tough decision, but it's interesting that like you said, that they actually came out with a plan, because we don't hear that very often. Which reminds me of, I wrote a piece, as I occasionally do. I think 3 of the last 4 years I have a baseball related piece for Cincinnati magazine for the print edition that comes out in the April issue around opening day. And I just submitted it over the weekend, as a matter of fact. Finished it up, submitted it, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. But in the process of writing that, I happened to go back and look at the promises that Castellini and the ownership group made when he showed up. And one of the things that hadn't really jumped out to me before was that they promised that we're going to be open with you. We're going to tell you what our plan is. We're going to always, every step of the way, tell the fans what we're thinking and what we're doing, because we owe it to you all that we're going to win. So now the piece is not about, it's more about the Bengals than it is the Reds, really sort of lavishing praise on the Bengals. But essentially, it's what lessons can the Reds learn from the Bengals? It's an upbeat piece. It's not bashing the Castellinis again, because believe me, I am sick and tired of bashing the Castellinis. That's all I've been doing in recent months and years, and I'm just absolutely tired of it. I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm tired of it. So, but anyway, I thought it was interesting that I kind of forgot they promised they were going to tell us what their plan was. But you're right. I'm glad he came out and said it. So. That's me rambling for some reason. What else did David Bell have to say? Oh, Nick Senzel.
Yeah.
Nick Senzel. He said, and the framing was sort of interesting. He's going to play when he's healthy, but nothing is guaranteed in the long run. Which, I mean, I think that's, if I'm managing the team, that's my answer. I don't have any better options right now. Nick Senzel is my best option. But how many chances are we going to give him? Either grab the brass ring, or we'll try Ellie De La Cruz or someone, Matt McLean. I don't know who, but or Kenny De La Cruz, because evidently there's more than one De La Cruz, according to Tyler Stephenson. So What are your thoughts? I mean, any thoughts about Senzel?
Yeah, not too much to add. If you're trying to get really, really optimistic and squint really, really hard and think that he has another shot, there were some encouraging signs after the swing change last year when he just really started barreling the heck out of the ball, started hitting line drives again, which he had done every year of his career until he got to the majors when he started trying to hit for more power, I guess. It's tough. I think in a way there's less pressure because there's no expectation. As Reds fans, we get often really excited for these Will Benson types and these the Brandon Drurys. That's kind of who he is now. He's this high pedigree guy that's never put it together. So I don't know. I think this is it. This is got to be his last chance. So fingers crossed he figures it out because this team looks a lot different if he's good. But I guess we've never seen it, but I would assume so.
Yeah, it's a frustrating thing. Yeah, it's a situation where he would in a competent organization that had 3 actual outfielders. He probably doesn't get this chance. I'm glad he's getting the chance because of that pedigree. But how many times have we heard Nick Senzel swing change? This is going to be it, and maybe it is because he's never been healthy enough to see any of these swing changes work. I don't know. He's so athletic. Gosh, if he could just be an average hitter, I think he could be I think you could live with him in center field because defensively, his speed plays, his glove plays defensively. If he could just be an average, I'm not even asking him to be the guy that he was in the minor leagues. I am asking for that actually. That's what I want to happen, but I don't need it. I just need just a competent level. Get on base a little bit, use your speed. Maybe more, as we'll talk about a little bit later with the rule changes. There may be some more stolen bases this year. He can, maybe his base running. I don't know. I'm a Nick Senzel homer. I've told you I have to give this caveat every time, clearly. But this is it. And so, yes, please let the swing change work. I would encourage you to go Charlie Goldsmith again. Second time we mentioned him at the Cincinnati Enquirer. Go look at his tweet.
Big day for Charlie. Really big day for Charlie.
Big day for Charlie on the show here. Yeah, we need to invite him on. We haven't ever had a 12-year-old on, but he'd be the first one. Sorry, Charlie. We love you. Go look at his tweet if you can. Go look at his tweet. I'm going to actually retweet it right now so that everyone can go to my profile and look at it because the picture they use of Nick Senzel
so good.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Why'd they choose that photo? Here, I'm going to in real time.
He must have said something mean to Charlie in the past because it's not good.
And you're watching me tweet in real time here. Okay, I just retweeted it. So, yeah, it's not good. It's not great. So
it's hilarious.
Anyway, I'm rooting for you, Nick. Believe me, I'm rooting for you. Other news from David Bell and from around Reds world this week. Again, this is me reading too much into this, and I think you may have the same. But David Bell told the media that TJ Antone's going to miss at least the first month of the season. And last week we were all like, "Oh no!" TJ Antone told us on his Instagram that he's going to miss the first half. And so I look at that, I'm like, "Ooh, maybe it won't be the whole first half." This is me searching for things to be excited about. I'm grasping for straws there, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm not going to expect him back anytime soon. I'll just be happy when he gets here.
Yeah, please show up soon. Mel Hall, the next baseball card. Yankees outfielder Mel Hall. Nate, you ever heard of Mel Hall?
I haven't heard of any of these guys.
Okay, only 7 letters in his name.
All these cards, but
yeah, only 7 letters in his name, which is important. He was actually a pretty good outfielder, I think, for the Cubs and Cleveland, maybe. So I'm not going to look at the back of the card to find out. But Mel Hall's the next one. Still no Cincinnati Reds.
Tragic.
All right. What else came out of David Bell's comments? Tony Santillan's not going to be ready, but Lucas Sims is going to be ready. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other, I guess. I don't like the fact that Tony Santillan and TJ Antone aren't ready, though, because the margins are thin for this bullpen. And those are 2 guys that we kind of needed to, roll snake eyes. I don't even know what that means, but we needed them back. It's been a long week already, Nate. I'm sorry. But so I don't go ahead. Say whatever you want about that nonsense.
I don't have much to say. I mean, this was one of the worst bullpens in the league last year. And some of the, I was going to say some of the depth, but the depth doesn't exist. is already kind of falling off. So they're gonna need some production out of guys that they weren't really counting on. And I think there are some of these minor league pickups that have a chance. Like Alex Young might be a really good guy. Another guy we'll talk about in a second, Daniel Norris, has had success, has been in the big leagues for a while. So you just kind of gotta hope you get lucky. But how much does the bullpen matter on a throwaway season anyway?
Well, it matters to you and I, and I'll tell you why. We're going to be watching every game, and so those seasons where they blow every game in the 7th, 8th, or 9th are frustrating. But
that's true.
But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, no. But Santilla's only maybe a couple weeks behind, so he won't be out long, supposedly. But he's the guy they need, frankly. Yeah. So now the next bit of news from the week, Nate, I'm going to tee you up for this one. Alejo Lopez accepted his assignment to AAA and got a minor league invitation to big league spring training. Woo! Alejo Lopez is back.
Probably should have led with this. This is the biggest news in Reds land this week. Alejo's back, baby. He's going to hit his way onto the roster. You're going to capitalize on the band shift, all the extra room in the infield. He's going to hit 700 this year. He's going to break all the records. Only singles. Yeah, only singles. 7 out of 10 hits, singles.
I'll take it.
Love
Sign me up right now.
No, I don't know if it's going to be Cincinnati or where, but I hope he makes a team. I like him. I like rooting for the guy. Wherever he ends up, hope he has a great career. I'm just happy. I like Alejo Lopez. It's one of those guys that brings smiles. I bet him and Eugenio Suarez would have been buddies. Like just bringing all the good vibes.
Good vibes only. I agree about Alejo. And I would love, again, it's sort of a lost season we're expecting here. Why not bring up Alejo and just let him play a few different positions and smack singles everywhere?
Matt Reynolds gets at bats and Alejo Lopez does not. I'm going to shave my head.
Without the shift, his bat plays better maybe, Alejo Lopez. So those singles can help. So, yeah, but if he does hit 700 in at least 200 at bats, I will get an Alejo Lopez tattoo. You know who the Reds should have in the bullpen, Nate?
Who's that?
Alan Anderson. Next baseball card here. Alan Anderson, pitcher for the Minnesota Twins. Good photo there of him following through it. You can see the baseball in the top corner of the card. The American League umpire back there. Alan Anderson spells his name with 2 L's. I question that. It's questionable behavior by Alan Anderson. I do not remember Alan Anderson. So all you Twins fans can remind me. All right, transactions from the week. Nate, you teased this one earlier. Yeah, it's true. Transaction of the week. You teased it, as I said, Daniel Norris. Daniel Norris signs with the Cincinnati Reds. Before we get into who Daniel Norris is and why we should care, Nate, where is Daniel Norris from? Where was he born?
Johnson City, Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken.
Have you been listening to Wagon Wheel again?
It's always playing in my head. Rock me mama.
Johnson City, Tennessee. Went to high school at Science Hill High School. And that's I mentioned that only because Nate and I were born and raised in Southwest Virginia, just across from Northeast Tennessee, and that's where Science Hill is. Johnson City, also home of East Tennessee State University, home of the Buccaneers, the East Tennessee State Buccaneers.
I think maybe also home of country legend Kenny Chesney.
No,
I don't know. I'm using legend pretty loosely there, but
Kenny Chesney, who wrote and performed Wagon Wheel. No, that's absolutely not true at all. That's completely false. But that's the extent of my country music knowledge. So Daniel Norris. Now, Daniel Norris was, sort of a highly acclaimed kid. He was picked in the 2nd round in 2011 and debuted in 2014 at age 21, which is, that's pretty good. And has had some moments in his career. First, obviously, he started out in Toronto, and with one, was a decent pitcher for Detroit for a few years. Never great, I guess, but he's been in the big leagues 9 years, 4.71 ERA plus at 94, which is not great, but returned to Detroit late last year, looked pretty good. He's the type of guy, he's started a bunch of games, So I presume he's going to have maybe an inside track on earning a spot in the starter. I'll take him over Luke Weaver, I think, but they're both sort of 6 of one, half dozen the other. Second time I've used that phrase tonight.
Ooh.
Never used it before in the history of this show. But I don't know. Daniel Norris, again, the Reds lead the world in, minor league deals with invitations to spring training. But this one, I think, is a good flyer to take. No objections, I guess. Low risk, potentially medium reward.
Yeah, there's no harm in this signing. Don't get too excited, but he's had a weird sort of career where he's either been really, really like fine or really, really bad. He's never been consistently anything. So
True.
I don't know if we get who he was in the latter half of last year, then that's a piece we need.
Well, and he had a couple years with Detroit where he was really good, and he's also had some years where he's been fairly bad. So I don't know. What are you going to say about him? Somebody that has the talent to debut as a 21-year-old has real talent, but here he's basically organizational filler. But he's in an organization where if he can be just cromulent, that's all we need him to be is cromulent. He could be the number 4 or 5 starter and log a bunch of innings at a decent clip, and that's sort of what we need with the kids in the rotation. So Daniel Norris, welcome, my friend, to the party that never ends, the Cincinnati Reds. Nate, my next baseball card here is someone you have heard of. Absolutely have heard of this guy. We still have not gotten any Cincinnati Reds, although there's an asterisk. Greg Vaughn.
Ooh.
Greg Vaughn of the Milwaukee Brewers. Obviously spent one season with Cincinnati in 1999 and became a legend. Engineered the Reds' Marge shot, getting rid of the facial hair ban. But here he's with the Milwaukee Brewers. Good picture of Greg Vaughn there. Good Brewers uniforms, too. So Greg Vaughn. But still no Reds cards.
There's time.
I guess. All right. That's sort of the Reds related news of the week. I guess this is something we did not talk about last week on the show because it was kind of it's something we thought about talking about last week, but it was some of the names were coming out as we were recording, as we did. But let's briefly mention the World Baseball Classic because a bunch of Reds and Reds adjacent players are involved in the World Baseball Classic. Now, the first question before we get into this is, do you care about the World Baseball Classic?
When it first came out, I did. I was in college, and I remember my roommate was a big Yankees fan, and actually had another roommate that was a huge Phillies fan. And we were on like spring break together, setting our alarms like 4 o'clock in the morning to get up and watch the inaugural World Baseball Classic games. As the years went on, I kind of fell out of it. But this year, I'm getting a little bit pumped again. I mean, some of these squads are ridiculous. Like that Dominican team is nuts. The American team is really, really good. I don't know how many games I'm going to watch, but I am more interested this year than I have been in a year and a while.
I really want to like the World Baseball Classic. I really do. I love baseball. I love America. I love competitions that pit countries against each other that do not involve, bombs and long range assault rifles. But I can't get into it. I've never been able to get into it, and I want to. Maybe this year's the year. I think the problem is the timing of it. I understand why the timing of it is when it is, but right now I'm all Cincinnati Reds. I'm all Major League Baseball. I don't want to be thinking about the World Baseball Classic. Get out of here with that.
I get that.
The Reds.
My counter argument would be that if you want to watch some people having fun, like that's going to be some of the most fun baseball you could possibly watch. All that Latin flavor out there. These games are going to last 5 hours. Bat flips, just every little strikeout, fist pumps. It's going to be just energy through the roof the whole time. The crowds are going to be nuts.
Yeah, man, I love that. I'm okay with that, and maybe I should be happy to have it maybe as a distraction from the Reds, but not this particular moment where I'm excited about watching the Reds. I want to watch the Reds now. I don't need a distraction yet. Do this thing in September when I'll be sick of the Reds. Then I'll get excited about it. So 5 players on Cincinnati's 40-man roster are on World Baseball Classic rosters. Those players are Luis Cessa. He's on Team Mexico, Nate. Team Mexico. 2 relief pitchers are on Team Puerto Rico, who I know you're going to be, that's going to be your sentimental favorite.
Right.
Alexis Diaz and Fernando Cruz. Reliever San Martin, Team Colombia, and this is my favorite. This is my Ian Jabot, Team Great Britain. I can't believe there's a Team Great Britain, by the way. First of all, I mean, I love our former, countrymen, our friends over in the United Kingdom, but I'm surprised there's a Team Great Britain. But since they have Ian Jabot, bring it on. I'm all for it.
Turns out he's the only player on Team Great Britain, and they are sorely overmatched.
It's gonna be tough. So 11 Reds minor league players are on various rosters. I'm not sure any of them actually exist because they're not players that I'm particularly familiar with. Because I hate prospects. I hate minor leaguers. Screw them all. But Team Colombia, Team Venezuela, another one on Team Puerto Rico, Team Australia, another Team Colombia. Oh, no, Donovan Benoit is on Team Great Britain along with Ian Jabot. There's 2 players there. Team Israel, I love it. Evan Kravitz, Team Israel. Team Italy, that's my team. Nicolo Panazzi and Vin Timpanelli. You cannot tell me those are actually Italian names. I don't believe that. Team Netherlands, Brandon Layton. According to Doug Gray, previously went by Stephen Layton. I never heard of either Brandon Layton or Stephen Layton. He's on Team Nicaragua. And then, I don't know, whatever. That
was Stephen Layton on Team Nicaragua.
That's a classic Nicaraguan name. Come on. Stephen Layton, now known as Brandon Layton. What's that all about? How do you change your name at age 20? I don't know how old he is, but at age 22 or whatever, how do you change your name from Stephen to Brandon? Who does that? I don't know. Any other thoughts about the World Baseball Classic, Nate?
No, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna try to get into it. We'll see how that works.
All right.
I'm definitely getting a Team Puerto Rico hat though, because I'm all in for my family men.
That's right. Yes, you're a Puerto Rican. Is that what they said?
That's
right?
what, yeah.
Married to a Puerto Rican.
My now wife is half Puerto Rican, and she called me a Puerto Rican today.
I like it. You're honorary. It's good. All right, a couple things before we get into viewer mail, but some interesting things to talk about. The first, how about we go to the rule changes, Major League Baseball's rule changes, Nate? You okay to talk about this?
Yeah, I actually kind of like to. I want to get your opinion on a few of these.
Okay, well, I'm just going to tell you that by and large, I'm 100% in favor. 100% in favor, and I think that Major League Baseball, I've changed my mind on this, and somebody could probably go back into the archives and find me yelling at clouds, the old man yelling at clouds. I think they need to change. And I understand the arguments against it. The sport I fell in love with is they're messing with it, but I have no problems. There's one rule that I have a little bit of a problem with, but I'm going to get over it. So let's dig into these. Do you want to talk? What about the pitch clock? There's a pitch clock now, Nate.
I am 100% in support of the pitch clock. It shaved off nearly half an hour on games, and I am asleep by 10:30 at the latest anyway, so I'm not watching the ninth inning of these games as it is. This gives me a chance to actually watch completed baseball games.
Yeah, pitchers are going to have 15 seconds to make each pitch when the bases are empty, 20 seconds when there's a runner on base, and a 30-second timer between batters. Yes, here, look, I love baseball. We've been talking about baseball here on this show since 2007. That is outrageous. And we only do that because we love baseball. But it's absolutely, and I'll watch 3.5 hour games. They're going to be on here. But it's absolutely 100% a fact that baseball games could be condensed in terms of time and also condensed in terms of the action on the field. More action within a smaller time frame is a better product. It's more fun for me to watch. It's more fun for the TikTok generation to watch. Although don't install TikTok on your work phone because that's illegal in most states these days. But, I hear all the old school complaints. This is not the game I grew up with. Okay, whatever. I want a game with more. I think what happened is the analytics era caused me to finally come around to the fact that we needed to change some things. Baseball just let teams do whatever they want to do. And the analytics era, which I was all in on, made the game less fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
There's less action on the field. And so these rules, which are largely designed to give us more action, I'm okay with it. Whatever. It's 2023. So pitch clock, yes. And you're right. It shortened minor league games a lot. So, and it's not shortening for the sake of shortening, but we're getting more action within a smaller period of time. I think that's fantastic. And, you know, the NHL, the NBA, those games are, what, 2.5 hours long?
Yeah.
That's a sweet spot as far as I'm concerned. All right, what's next? Let's talk about the pickoffs and things like that. So if a pitcher does take too long between pitches, charge with an automatic ball. If hitters aren't ready to hit with 8 seconds on the clock, automatic strike. I don't love that, but it is what it is. Now, here's the one that I think is interesting. Pitchers can step off the rubber twice per plate appearance, which includes pickoff attempts when there's, if a runner's on base. So if a pitcher steps off a third time, he can, but if he doesn't pick off the runner, it's a balk. So, and I love this. I absolutely adore this. Hopefully it's going to increase stolen bases. And I don't know. I'm interested in your thoughts, but I'm all in on this.
It took me a while to come around on this one, and I landed kind of where you are. It seems. At first, I was like, "This is ridiculous! Like it's just gonna the guys are just gonna steal bases, and where's the baseballness in that?" Then I started thinking about like late innings of a close game, and a guy steps off the rubber twice. How much fun is that going to be when your guy's on the base path, or if you have a catcher that has a hose? You know, if you bring back Billy Hamilton, there's a spot for Billy Hamilton now in Major League Baseball, because with that rule, they can't just sit there and try to pick him off 8 times and keep him close. It gives a guy like Nick Senzel a little bit more runway. So I don't know. It took me a while. This is probably the one that took me the longest, but I came around pro pickoff rules, whatever they're called.
And with the shift restrictions we're going to talk about in a moment, Billy Hamilton can move back to the infield and have a career here. So next baseball card quickly, Dave Island. I think a left-handed pitcher, I believe, for the New York Yankees. Dave Island. I do not remember him really. And we're going to move. We got to move to the next one because we're running out of time. We did it, Nate. We finally did it. We got a Cincinnati Red. You want to predict which member of the 1990 World Champion Reds is on this card?
That is Jose Rijo.
Scott Scudder.
Oh, my next
The immortal.
guess.
The immortal. Scott Scudder. We finally got a Red. Scott Scudder. I like that guy. Number 47.
Great name. Classic baseball name.
Scott Scudder. All right. Next rule change. Let's see. I got to scroll down. This is such preparation. Such preparation here. The shift. Let's talk about the shift. Okay. So a lot of people are upset about the shift. I hate the shift. I went from saying teams should be able to do whatever they can to prevent runs being scored to saying, I don't like watching this. So got to be 2 infielders on each side of second base. All 4 infielders must have their feet on the infield dirt until a pitch is released. So let me just tell you something. The fact that I'm never going to have to watch a second baseman playing out in short right field again, or a shortstop playing on the right side of second base. Again, this may be me yelling at clouds because this is not the game I grew up with, but I want more singles. I want more balls in play. I want more action on the field, and I hope, we'll see how it works out, but I hope and think that this will create more action on the field, and that's all I want. I want baseball. I don't want home runs, walks, and line outs to short right field to the second baseman. So I'm all in on this one.
I love this one. The shift is stupid. I hate the shift. Back when I was growing up, what now is called banning the shift, it was just called playing baseball. The guys are in their positions. It's a wild concept, I know. But, I mean, look at the Reds players that are going to benefit from this. We talked about Alejo Lopez, Joey Votto, who just – how many times a season does he just crank hard grounders into the gaps? And now, instead of those being ground outs that are the least fun thing in baseball, those get to be base hits again. And we get to see guys go from first to third again. And I don't know, like defense matters, arms matter. Like that, it just makes every bit of the game more fun. There's more offense. Batting averages are going to come up. Every complaint you could have about not everyone, obviously, but so many complaints you could have about the product over the last 8 or so years is wiped out by banning the shift. I love this one more than any other.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you just want to watch Joey Votto crank it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Just cranking it all day long, just with his butts.
Listen, I'm telling you this so you don't have to learn it for yourself. But in Mein Kampf, Hitler actually endorsed the shift. I don't know if you know that.
There you go. There it is.
Yeah. So I mean, you decide which side of history you want to be on. As for me, ban the shift. I'm anti-Hitler. I'm going to say that on this show. We don't get into politics, but I'm anti-Hitler. Sorry about that, Nate. That went a weird direction.
I agree.
Here's the one. Here's the one rule change that I don't love, and this is me being sentimental. I think, and the runner on second base in extra innings, they're going to keep that for good. And I'm of two minds, but what's that?
Regular season only.
Well, and that's a big part of my problem with it. They're going to play a different game in the postseason than they play in the regular season. I have questions about that. Although here's the thing I can say for it. As a parent of a son who played competitive travel baseball and is playing competitive high school baseball, well, he will as soon as his basketball season ends. This rule was in effect in the travel baseball tournaments that we went to all over the East Coast. And I loved it because it got games over with quicker. I got to go home or whatever. I didn't hate it at that time, but I don't know. There's something about it that I will get over. Joe Posnanski had a piece this week where he basically said, I agreed with him on this. I don't like it, but I guess have to understand at this point, I've been outvoted. He says that Major League Baseball has done lots of market research, and that's why they're doing this. That this is what people want. And so I'm going to grin and bear it on this one, but this is the one that I don't love.
My take is that I have now heard dozens of arguments for why it is a dumb rule. I don't have a counterpoint to a single one of those arguments. They're all good. There are way more arguments for it being a dumb rule than there are for it being a good rule, in my opinion. The only thing I'll say is that I have now heard too many players that are in favor of this. The players seem to be all about it. They're playing 162 games. We're sitting on our couch eating Cheetos. Those are the guys that are out there and, till 2, 3, 4 in the morning on these crazy games that everybody loves so much that happen once a year. But if the players support it that much, who am I to complain from my couch? So that's it.
Well, that's what we do is we complain. So yeah, whatever. I'll get over it. So any other? I think is that all the rule changes?
The only other one that was kind of worth mentioning would be the bigger bases, and it's same thing we've been saying.
Oh, right.
It'll increases the likelihood of stolen bases, I guess, and maybe less people will get injured from stepping on each other.
Yeah, again, that's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. That's the third time I've used that term here. I don't
new record. New record.
I just don't care. Whatever.
Yeah,
it's
whatever.
Fine. Although, it's they're marginally bigger, but when you reduce that amount, think how many stolen bases are bang, bang plays and they're outs. They probably will increase stolen bases, a marginal amount at least. And also the fact of the matter is if it's few injuries, that's good. I'm getting into the kids again. My daughter played travel softball and they had this base that I thought was brilliant. Of course, those are smaller baselines. It's different, but they had a base that's sort of it's 2 bases at first base in one, designed to make sure that players can be safe about it. Didn't change the game. So,
we will forget about this within 2 years.
That's it. I didn't see a funny. It's rare that you see a funny tweet, but someone was like, "Man, can you believe the size of these bases for the old ones?" And they photoshopped like a huge base. It was hilarious. So, you want to ask some viewer mail questions, Nate?
Let's do it. That's some good ones this week.
Should we or should we talk about Rob Manfred's comments really quickly?
We should touch on that. I actually took the liberty to upload the clip.
Yes, I saw that.
A
Let's
little,
play it now.
yeah, well, a little lead in. This was Rob Manfred's response to a question from Trent Rosecrans at The Athletic now.
Yes.
And he just said, hey, what do you think about certain team presidents saying that small market teams are often out of it by opening day, out of contention? And this was Rob Manfred's response.
I'm a unitard.
No, wait, that was not. That was not his response, Nate. What are you hit the wrong button. Here's Rob Manfred's response.
Look, I think that most people who pay attention to our game realize that we do have a disparity issue in the game, both on the revenue side and consequently on the ability to spend on players. I think sometimes in markets that produces frustration that leads to what I regard to be unfortunate comments, not helpful.
It's official. Phil Castellini is not helpful. Sorry, I didn't mean to drop the Simpsons clip on you there, Nate, but
I'm still dying. Oh man, it was good. I don't mean plenty of people are litigating this in the comments and different social media platforms, but you can tell that he has thought about the response to this question. I think he kind of knew what he was going to say whenever he was inevitably asked about that. That's how it seemed to me anyway. And if there's anything to take away from this, we all know feels a clown. They have to get approved. Like for him to take over control of the team, he would have to get approved by the other owners and some other people. This makes me think that at least it's usually a foregone conclusion, sure, but maybe not with Phil. Maybe some of the other guys were like, "Hey, man, you can't shut up. We're not okay with you being in charge."
yeah, he's actively hurting their business model, and that's the point I was going to make. You, we didn't talk about this beforehand, but you're absolutely correct. If and when Bob passes control to the team to Phil, he has to be approved by the ownership to take over, and I don't think it's a foregone conclusion because he's making their life more difficult because he's unhelpful. So I don't know if there's much more we need to say of that, but it's not. It's some people in our, again, patreon.com/riverfrontcincy in the Slack channel. Some people mentioned, wow, if Rob Manfred, who by and large is an idiot, but if MLB is criticizing publicly what Phil Castellini is saying, that is actually, I won't say it's a watershed moment, but it's more important than I think most people realize, because Rob Manfred's job is defending owners. He works for the owners, and for him to publicly, I mean, you're not going to, it's mild criticism, but to publicly criticize, we'll see where it goes, but you're definitely unhelpful.
Yeah, and shout out to Trent for asking the question.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll talk about Trent a little bit more lately. I've been fairly critical of Red's print media in recent years. I am barely on the outskirts of print media. You know, I write a weekly online column for the magazine, and then at least once or twice yearly, I write a column for the print magazine at Cincinnati Magazine, who you all need to subscribe to immediately because I'm nothing if not a company man. In the last little bit, Trent has pushed back a little bit where no one else will. And so I understand people's feelings about Trent, whatever. I mean, I've always had good interactions with him, but you're right. Kudos to him. And we'll talk about him more in a moment, I think. Nate, viewer mail.
Let's jump in.
Now, these questions, as always, come from our friends at patreon.com/riverfrontcincy. That's riverfront.com/patreoncincy. No, that's not right at all. These are where you can go to support the show, and these are our best friends, essentially our best friends on earth. And I have to tell you something, Nate. I had a long day today. I have not looked at these Patreon questions yet. I'm going in completely unprepared.
Going in blind. I like it.
You can tell that it's spring training optimism episode because we're 55 minutes in and we're just getting viewer mail. Let's run through these as quick as we
let's
can.
power through.
Yeah. Seth Shaner. Seth asked this question. Serious question he asked. All right, we're moving to the next one. We don't want serious questions. We're all about goofiness here. No, let's do it. Have the Reds signed enough players to minor league deals with invites to major league camp to field an entire team? If Phil could get rid of those pesky guaranteed contracts, just think of the payroll flexibility he could achieve. All right, I don't think Seth wants us to actually answer that, but the answer really is yes. The Reds are the kings of signing minor league deals with invitations to spring training. So, yes, they could fill an entire roster. And no guaranteed contracts. Oh, Phil would just be in high cotton, as they say. I presume you don't have anything else to add to that because I gave the perfect answer.
That was it.
Kyle Kapler. Kyle Kapler says, I guess I was overzealous with my Will Benson take last week. Yeah, you were. Benson, not the sitcom Benson. How about 2009 Jay Bruce? Dude has thump and can get on base. Speaking of 2009, will this season be a similar transitional season as that particular season was? So I'm all in on the Will Benson has thump and can get on base take. And I don't know if you have anything else to say about Will Benson because I'm still not sure that's an actual person.
I'm just going to say, instead of comparing him to Jay Bruce, let's go ahead and compare him to a 2003 Adam Dunn. 215 batting average, 354 on base, 465 slug, liking that 116 OPS plus. That's probably like a high end, like best case scenario for a Will Benson type.
Nate, we're big Jay Bruce fans here on the pod, but you just amped it up a notch. Adam Dunn is the patron saint of the Riverfront. Oh, man, Will Benson is now my favorite player. Transitional season as 2009, I think that's aggressively optimistic because obviously in 2010, the Reds won the division with a bunch of young kids. I'm not sure I can quite see it. Maybe if the Reds go out and get Scott Rowland, literally Scott Rowland, the Hall of Famer Scott Rowland. Let's go ahead and just get him back. No, I don't see it, but it's one of those situations where that's our sort of our catchphrase here at the Riverfront. If you could squint a little bit, you could see it happening. Yeah. And I'm going to hope it happens. But I'm having trouble seeing the Reds front office kind of completing the threading the needle, I guess, to make it a competitive team next year. But hope springs eternal.
We'll see.
Joey Gaditza. Hey, Nate, do you know where Joey Gaditza is from?
Up there?
Canada. Yes, up there. Hey, guys, he says, if Jose Barrero and Nick Senzel both stay on the field and put up decent numbers, how much closer would it put the Reds to that final wild card spot? Let me repeat that question. If monkeys fly out of my butt, how much closer would it put the Reds to that final wild card spot?
You're in a good mood today.
I'm in a good mood, man. It's spring training. I love it.
Joey, it puts him so close. Don't listen to Chad with the monkeys flying out of his butt. No, we talked a few episodes ago. 6 of the 9 everyday hitters have an OPS plus over 100. That's sort of in the ballpark. That's what you need. And a couple guys to take some big leaps from those 6. But if 2 of your 6 guys are those 2 guys, 85 wins, baby. Sign me up.
I don't know about wild card, but I will say this. If Nick Senzel and Jose Barrero play like they played in the minor leagues, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this team all of a sudden becomes extremely interesting. And they may not be wild card, but they're a team I'm going to want to watch I'm going to watch them every day anyway, but
you're going to want to.
I'm going to want to. I'm going to do it out of duty anyway, but he said duty. Mike Henneman, next baseball card. Ooh. Mike Henneman, pitcher for the Tigers. I think pretty good. I want to say a closer maybe, but I'm not going to check that. So Mike Henneman, I do remember him. Nate, you don't remember Mike Henneman.
I do remember Mike Henneman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What about this guy? Go ahead. Wait. Well, you had something to say about Mike Henneman?
I've got no hot takes on Mike Henneman.
All right. Dennis Oil Can Boyd.
Okay.
You remember Oil Can Boyd?
You've reached the heart of the order in this pack.
This is a pretty good one, man. Best nickname in baseball history.
Yeah,
Dennis
sure.
Oil Can Boyd. Good pitcher for the Red Sox. And here he's with the Expos, right? Yeah. The Montreal Expos used to be a team. So, all right. Next viewer mail question. We got to rush through these, man. I like talking to you, Nate, but I'm just about sick of it at this point. Chris G. This question's from Chris G. I don't know who that might be. Chris G. Perhaps Kenny G's brother?
Oh.
For some reason, he asks, Hunter Green recently compared the Red starters to the mid-90s Braves. Setting aside the fact that Greg Maddux was a huge free agent signing, not a prospect coming up, is there any merit to this type of talk? Or are these guys a bunch of deluded, self-jinxing pulsifers? Now, you're still a kid, Nate. Do you know what a pulsifer is in this context?
No. I do not. I do know that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the New York Mets had this great upcoming rotation at one point. The people were like, "Oh, this is the next trio," and it was Bill Pulsifer. It was Paul Wilson, who ended up being a Red later, and I can't remember the third because I haven't done any research to prepare for this show. So the answer to Chris G's question is this going to be the mid-90s Braves? Of course, he's talking about Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, Hall of Famers. Are Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Graham Ashcraft going to be future Hall of Famers? Well, obviously, yes. Oh, no, you don't think so, Nate? I think obviously not yet. I think that's aggressive. But if Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Graham Ashcraft become future Hall of Famers, this year's team's going to be really fun. When you conclude the fact that Jose Barrero and Nick Senzel are almost certainly going to be awesome, as we've learned here tonight, this team's going to be fun. This team's going to be great.
I think Chris Kenny G's cousin has another comment there.
Oh, yeah. Kenny G asked, if Green, Lodolo, and Ashcraft all pitch at Cy Young contender levels, does that get the Reds to 75 wins? I'll let you answer this one.
Kenny G's cousin is killing my buzz. Get out of here.
Get out of here, Kenny G.
But
yes, the Reds are 75 wins if that happens. Next baseball card is Harold Reynolds. Do you know Harold Reynolds?
Unfortunately.
Mariners second baseman Harold Reynolds, horrible commentater on MLB.
My least favorite talking head.
The worst. He's just really bad. Really bad. So Harold Reynolds. I'm going to go to the next one, though. Willie Randolph. Now, he's with the A's here. Played against the Reds in the 1990 World Series, but a really good 1980s second baseman for the New York Yankees. Willie Randolph.
It's a good stretch.
Good stretch. All right. Now, what's the next question, Nate? James Urban. What will happen first? Rob Manfred ending the blackouts or the Reds winning another World Series?
Why's it got to be one or the other, man?
Both. They both happened this year. Yeah. So I don't know how to answer that. I think actually the real answer is Rob Manfred ending the blackouts. I have some hope that with the collapse of Bally Sports and the regional sports networks, that maybe there will be some movement to end these stupid blackouts. I hate to mention this guy because he's the worst. I mean, he's literally the worst, but Phil Razor is his name, and a friend of the show. Follow him on Twitter if you can find him, because he's the worst and you'll enjoy his takes, especially about poker. But he lives in Iowa. This is one of the 50 states of the union, Iowa. He's blacked out from the Reds, the Cubs, the Cardinals, I don't know, maybe other teams. It's ludicrous in Iowa. So anyway.
Madness.
Complete madness. Daniel Norris from Johnson City, Tennessee. When he's home, he's blacked out from the Reds. He can't watch. His parents in Johnson City, Tennessee can't watch him pitch for the Reds. It's ludicrous. Mark Hayden. Mark, I got your message. I'm going to respond. But first, we're going to talk about your question. Did you enjoy our friend C. Trent Rosecrans' recent article that started off with the lead about how the Reds are contractually obligated to field a team as much as I did? He caught some heat for that, it would seem. Now, admittedly, I've been away from Twitter largely this last week because of other obligations, but I'm not sure what heat he caught. And maybe Nate, maybe you know, but I did read that article. It was a good piece. And he did say the Reds are going to have a full team because they kind of have to. He's getting a little bit snarky, and I'm all for the snark. Do you know what he's talking about, though, about the heat he caught?
No, I actually don't. I was hoping you did. But I
Oh.
do agree that whenever I first read that, I don't remember the exact piece, but I had a nice little sinister chuckle.
Yeah.
Get him, Trent.
So yeah, we don't know what you're talking about, Mark. We love you. You're an amazing friend of the show, but what are we gonna do? Some prep?
Let
We
us
actually
know.
do prep most weeks, but maybe not this one. Brandon Kamick. Now this is a good one. Brandon says, I saw Mr. Redlegs getting comfortable at a closed beer station at a game late last year. What's your favorite repressed memory? That's all over the place. Your Mr. Redlegs just pounding Budweisers at a closed beer station last year. Bring it on. I'm all for it.
I wonder if it was when Joey was in the costume.
Yeah, I don't have a repressed memory. They all keep me up at night. So do you have a repressed memory, Nate?
I've got one that I would like to repress. It involved our father walking back in the parking lot to his car and dropping what I can only assume is the result of too many Skyline chili cheese conies, and it affecting multiple different groups of people walking to their cars also.
I had literally repressed this. I'd forgotten about it until you mentioned it.
It's hard times.
He crop dusted some guys.
Crop dusted a lot of people. So many people. For like the next 45 seconds. People were just, oh man.
People vomiting, people passing out. It was a bad scene. Oh my gosh, Nate. We have gone off the rails.
Moving on.
Moving on. First, quickly, because I got to get through this pack. Another Expos pitcher, Scott Ruskin. Scott Ruskin. I remember the name. Yeah, no. Next one. Juan Bell. Never heard of Juan Bell. He's an Orioles shortstop. Never heard of him.
Nope.
So, next question comes from Hooper Powell. Hooper Powell. This is one that I needed to prepare for. Hooper, sorry, I did not prepare. Finally, I love how the fact that I keep talking about the fact that I did not prepare for this episode. This is going to cause people to want to subscribe to the show. Finally, some baseball action with pitchers and catchers reporting. Who would be your all-time starting rotation 2000 on? So from 2000 to now, all time. So quick off the top of my head, Aaron Harang's in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Arroyo's in there. Oh, also Bronson Arroyo.
Also Kenny G's cousin, Brandon. Yeah. Changed his name to Steven Arroyo.
Steven Arroyo playing for Team Columbia or somebody. I don't know. I really need to go to bed. I've had not enough sleep this week. Who else is in that mix? I guess Johnny Cueto.
Mm-hmm.
Luis Castillo.
He's in mine.
Who else do we have? I'm struggling now.
So I actually went, I chose individual seasons for my 5. So the ones we already mentioned, 2022 Castillo, I chose last year's Luis Castillo season. 2014 Johnny Cueto, 2006 Bronson, 2007 Harang, and then 2019 Sonny Gray.
Oh, interesting. That's actually the choice. That's it. No, Sonny Gray, you all need to go look at his page at Baseball Reference. That guy was better than any of you all realize.
Yeah.
He was really great as a Red. So that's it. I think that's the answer. No preparation. I mean, you did preparation, but I didn't.
I did preparation.
Yeah. So, all right. Next comes from Rich Thompson. Our final question, Rich, as always, not short and pithy. We love you, Rich. Spring training might mean different things to different players based either on their situations or history with the team. From the outside looking in, it appears to me that there are tons of question marks with this Reds team. Okay, I might have thought that for other spring trainings too. And no bigger question to me is the starting pitching, he says. I say this due to their youth and experience and some with a history with health issues. Therefore, in your opinion, which starting pitcher candidate has the most to prove this spring training? Well, I may quibble with the framing there. there may be some question marks, but we also know there are 3 guys that are 100%, if they're healthy, going to be in the starting rotation. No questions asked. So which starting pitcher candidate has the most to prove in spring training? I think it's Daniel Norris or Luke Weaver or Luis Sessa. And maybe not quite as much Sessa, but I think it's Norris and Weaver who can grab that extra spot. The kids are going to have a spot. I don't think they have anything to prove in spring training. They've kind of proved health is a thing, but they've kind of proved it during the regular season. So, Nate, any thoughts about that?
I took a slightly different direction. I went with my boy Douglas Graham Ashcraft. So
Really?
He kind of burst onto the scene. I don't think too many people, maybe myself, maybe nobody else, I don't know, were predicting him to come up and do what he did. But if he shows up this year and the magic's gone and he just gets hit around, gets knocked around a little bit, that's a lot of question marks. I mean, you can't keep trotting him out there if he's got an ERA in the 5s. They're going to have to send him back down, let him work on whatever he needs to, and then try again. I think that Hunter Green and Nicola are going to get to work out whatever they need to. But I'm not so sure that's the case with Ashcraft. Could be wrong.
Well, no, maybe that's true because he has less of a pedigree. And I think actually, I hate to do this, but I think I disagree with you. I don't think he has anything to prove in spring training. Now, I think he has something to prove in the regular season. If he,
that's fair.
If he falls on his face in the regular season, maybe. But anyway, I don't know. That's the last question. Can I run through the last baseball card here?
Yeah.
Twins outfielder Randy Bush. Randy Bush. I don't remember Randy Bush, but he played for the Twins, and his name was Bush.
I think I had that card, and I chuckled about it when I was like 11.
Pretty funny. Almost as funny as Rusty Kuntz baseball card. Randy Bush. I don't know if he played with Rusty Kuntz, but that's the actual pronunciation of it. There's actually one more. It's not a card here, but I got to show you this, Nate. Fleer had team logo stickers.
Let's go.
Cincinnati Reds. Running man, number 27 on there, the best Reds logo.
For sure.
Absolutely. So here's what I'm saying here. I got to remember to go onto Twitter and open up our DMs. But if you drop into our DMs with your address, the first person to drop into the at Riverfront Cincy, at Riverfront Cincy on Twitter, drop into if you follow us and drop into our DMs and give me your address, I will send you the Scott Scudder and Cincinnati Reds logo sticker from the 1991 Fleer set on the condition that you tag us and post it on Twitter when you receive them. So here we go. That's from us.
Joke's
Scott
on you,
Scudder.
Card nerds. I'm going to do it before this posts.
That's right. Nate has he got advance notice of this. He's going to do it. All right, Nate, what else is going on around the Riverfront?
We're still over there doing the Bengals show during the offseason. There's still plenty to talk about. Young Joseph Farfsing took the reins this week, and we went through the entire roster. Talked about who's sticking around, who might be gone, what they're going to be doing with their cap space, and just getting after it over there. Had a good time as we always do. It's a nice hour of flagrancy and a lot of laughs.
A lot of laughs. Nate, did you mention Billy Madison on this week's episode at all?
I think he missed out on this one. We can
Oh,
rectify
really?
that now.
You want me to rectify it?
Yeah.
You know something? You suck.
Billy Madison. All right. So you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/RiverfrontCincy, where you can get the Red show that you're listening to now, and also the Riverfront Bengals show, and all your audio. Go look for the Riverfront Bengals show on all your audio apps, because we just spent an entire offseason talking about the Cincinnati Reds. It's way more fun to talk about the Bengals the offseason. So I can't believe we're saying that. All right. So thank you to everyone for listening and supporting the Riverfront. Again, please remember to subscribe either on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook at Riverfront Cincy on all those platforms. And a big time thank you to all our supporters at patreon.com/Riverfront Cincy. The show, again, would literally not be possible without the support of our Patreon family. We'd love for you to join in our hijinks. Just go to patreon.com/riverfrontcincy or click the link in the show notes. Show notes. Not the show nuts. Not the show nuts, Nate.
This has been my favorite show ever.
At a blast. Shout out to Adam Dunn. Shouts to Lisa Alberto, Wayne Krenchicki, and Eli Cash for Nate Dotson and Burke Badenhop. This is Chad Dotson saying, so long, everyone.